I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay.
And introduction. So you're getting Zoom.
So on Zoom for our select board members tonight, we have Bob and Mike and Jessica and John virtually. And in the audience in person tonight, we have Julie and myself, and online in the audience, we have Harley and Deb.
Okay.
And I will let you know as other people join us online if that is the case. And I have no official additions or deletions of agenda items.
Okay.
I'm not sure if anybody else has anything to add.
And how do we feel about the minutes?
Minutes from July 12th.
I thought they looked good. I'll move that we accept those minutes.
I'll second that.
Okay, any discussion? All in favor? John?
Yes.
Jessica?
Yes.
Bob?
Yes.
Carried. And no pre-requested?
Nope,
No announcements?
nope.
And reports?
So I have nothing that came in from Jonas, so nothing from the zoning report tonight.
He had a report last night at the planning commission.
Okay,
And he had said he would email that same report around, but I guess he didn't get to it yet. Tonight, he's at a Castleton meeting.
I will double check and make sure.
The main part of his report was that, the permits had slacked off for a little while and there weren't a lot, except then this week there were several new ones, so, yeah. Okay. Planning Commission's report. So, I have started having to wear reading glasses, so let me give my report. All right, so the Planning Commission met last night, Monday, July 25. We continued our work on the unified bylaws with Ed Bove of the Rutland Regional Planning Commission. We were working on the village and commercial zone. Ed suggested several uses that could be moved from conditional to permitted, the idea being to cut down on red tape for people who want to do commercial enterprises in a district that actually is zoned commercial and has commercial in its name. We discussed, so there were about 5 different uses we discussed. We also discussed issues of parking, mostly in West Pawlet. We also then went over the dimensional requirements and setbacks in the village and commercial district. We agreed in general that the current requirements are too restrictive and that they don't reflect what's actually there and how close buildings are to roads and things like that. We are probably going to remove, there's some language about surveyed versus non-surveyed lots and how the setbacks are measured. And none of us on the Planning Commission knew why that language was there. Or why, so we thought we might standardize how setbacks are measured and just measure them from the center of the road. We also discussed the smaller lot sizes in West Pawlet, and because it's on the sewer, and we wanted to make sure that the allowable lot sizes in the bylaws reflect what actually exists. Ed next month is going to bring us some specific proposals about setbacks and dimensional requirements, and we'll decide what we want to put in the bylaws regarding that. So that's my Planning Commission report, and I did email this around to everybody a couple hours ago. I also was hoping to make an update, and this is sort of a Planning Commission update, on the Otter Creek CUD, particularly because we got that email, which I think Deb forwarded, from somebody who lives just south of West Pawlet. And since I'm not reading anymore, I don't read these. So I've been attending each month the meetings of the Otter Creek CUD and the executive board meetings since I'm now the secretary, so.
Lucky you.
Yeah, I showed up and they're like, we want to make you the secretary. I'm like, oh, okay, I guess. So I'm the secretary. And what's happening right now, so a couple additional towns have joined the CUD, so we have quite a lot of the towns in the Rutland County who are involved. And We have gotten a project manager, which is someone who used to work for Rutland Regional Planning Commission, and she's worked with us before, so we're very happy to have her. She knows what's going on, and she almost immediately got us a grant, so that was good. But the main thing that's happening is that the CUD has put out a request for proposals for internet service providers to work with them. Some of the CUDs in different parts of the state, like especially in the Northeast Kingdom, where they have very little broadband, are just sort of using the state grant money that they get to buy fiber and have somebody install it. So they're like becoming their own internet service provider. Now, in Rutland County, we have some places that are very well served and some that are not. So we're trying to use the model where we go with the existing people who are already providing service, and we partner with them, and we get them the grant money, and they do the building out of the fiber, because we thought that that would make most sense given how our area is. So the update on that is that we have gotten 2 proposals from 2 different internet service providers who are in the Rutland County area, and are in the process of negotiating with them about like exactly how we would manage the funds and how they would do the build out and what they would need. So that's where that's at right now. The CUD has gotten what's called a pre-construction grant from the state, which means we're not building yet, but it's going to help us do all of the accounting and things we need to do, and have the project manager and do the negotiations with the internet service providers. So my anticipation is that in next year's funding cycle, Otter Creek CUD will apply for a construction grant and actually start working with the internet service providers to build out. So as I told this person in the email, that doesn't mean that we're necessarily going to bring internet to your house next year, but that we hope next year to start building some internet somewhere in Rutland County, and within several years finish so that everybody has modern internet. That's the goal. So that's the update on the CUD. That's my report.
Thank you. Thanks for answering that lady too. That was a very good email.
Yeah, I wanted to, and I thought, I know this. I've been to this meeting. So, yeah.
Okay. Anything more on this? We're down to road foremans already?
Yes, I never received a report.
Nothing really.
But I just know that the road work is ongoing on Kelly Hill. I think that it's progressing.
I think they're done with the slate, the rubbish, and they're topping it with gravel, and they've been hauling some top dress from, I believe, from Deletion also to
yeah.
Some stone from there, but they should be complete, and then they'll get this finished off and then head for Rupert.
Okay. That's good. And then just to bring everybody up to speed, I sent an email around to the board members, but Rich and I had talked about the most effective way to do this, and to get a couple more people to make this job go much more efficient, and that's what we've done. We've hired 2 part-time people that are just part-time temporary, right? Nat and Riley. And Riley is the operator for the machine, so he can keep all the trucks loaded, and this other guy, we have 3 town trucks, so we should have them all running. It just makes the job go much quicker and easier. So, and everything is good in your world with those 2 people, right?
Yep.
Okay, excellent.
And then just to piggyback on that, just to share it in the public meeting, when I heard that we were thinking about doing this, I did reach out to VLCT just to make sure that we were going about it the right way, and that our I's were dotted and our T's were crossed. And I had a couple really good conversations with some folks up there, and confirmed that it's all based on our personnel policy, which discusses that we are entitled to hire temporary part-time people, and there are certain parameters that those people have to meet, and that it's just for these exact purposes, for when you're short on people and need to get things done. And so just we made sure that we went through the right channels and all that, so it's good.
Okay.
I have a little addendum. It's not having to do with the road foreman necessarily, but it does have to do with roads. So the planning commission members, John Sabatka and Harley Cudney, are our representatives to the Rutland Regional Planning Commission's Transportation Advisory Council. And at the last meeting of that body, they were told that if any town needs a traffic count for any reason, they should contact the Transportation Advisory Council. So, because evidently they have some ability to do a traffic count. So if we need a traffic count anywhere in the town, that would be who we would contact.
Oh, I guess that reminds me too. So I did reach out to Patrick Wilson about the North Pawlet intersection, North Pawlet Road intersection. And Patrick said that back in the day, it would have probably been just as simple as the select board saying, hey, we need enhanced signage at this intersection. Let's make a motion for what we need and buy the signage and put them up, and there you have it. But he said he is afraid that those days are long gone, and due to the fact that it is involves a state road, it's a state intersection, it would be the town's best interest to do a traffic study and to just get a better idea of what it's like at that intersection and then to go from there. My question, which I did not follow up with him on, was that seemingly the idea is that the stop sign ahead sign that's on the North Pawlet Road is just not that visible. And my thought was that if that sign is within the town's jurisdiction, even though it does have to do with the state right away, but it could it just be as simple as us going out and buying some reflective tape and putting it on the post or something, you know, just maybe not have to go so crazy, just because I feel like with these studies that it just takes a while and sometimes the intentions get lost in the mix. So wasn't sure if there was an opportunity to do something, you know, that was
Possibly like that.
just something to draw attention to the signage that's already there and not necessarily reinvent the wheel. And then there is an individual who is, I think the plan is that he's gonna go around and take some inventory of our town signage and just see what's missing and what we might need more of. And he has extensive knowledge in appropriate road signs, and he had recommended that a stop sign on either side of the road at the intersection, rather than just the one on the, you know, traveled side, could also be of benefit. So again, something that's, I mean, obviously we would have to.
That's something that we should, Rich talked to me a little bit about that too, that he knew someone that had experience that could go around and just make sure that our intersections throughout the whole town, everything is properly signed and
Yeah.
stuff, so we should see if we could make arrangements to hire him to do this little excursion for us, because he does.
Yeah.
That intersection where, where River Road meets 153 is also a really weird intersection. The sign is like on the opposite side, the stop sign, which has often confused me. So I mean, it wouldn't hurt to have somebody look at the signs around throughout our town, and some of them are ones that we can just decide on if they don't involve state highways.
Certainly in our jurisdiction, so that would be good.
Yeah, I don't know what the board feels about me continuing to pursue with our planning commission about if we want to do a traffic study for that North Pawlet intersection, or if we want to just see if we can make do with what we have and try to just go out and buy some reflective tape and put it on the sign, or...
I don't see why we couldn't do both. Put reflective tape on the sign, and if they're doing free traffic counts, we could just ask them if they could do one, I mean, at that spot, because it's been a problem spot for us.
Set it up on the North Pawlet Road because it is a chronic.
Okay.
I can ask our representatives to...
I think the traffic count would only give you the number of vehicles that actually took that road, and it could be very seasonal, depending on holiday weekends and whatnot. But what we've noticed is out-of-state traffic that vacations at the lake, they don't happen to notice that, you know, they're coming out to Route 30 when they head out the North Pawlet Road, and quite a few of them end up in the Mike Mullins
Yeah.
hayfield, and,
I admit I did the first time I drove that way. I was coming back at night and it was winter, so it was nice and frozen. I just turned around, came back on. But yeah, never did that again.
so
You live and you learn.
I think the important thing about doing a traffic count is kind of like the pretense for the state to get involved. They want to see that before they really even want to stick their nose in it, by the sounds of it. So it's just kind of,
Well, I think it would probably be good for the Transportation Advisory Committee to at least know that we think this is a problem intersection. And, you know, they can point things in its direction.
Yeah, and Patrick Wilson, Jessica, if you wanna, I can include you in the message and, or maybe send it to Harley and John, but include them in what I've already initiated with Patrick so that we
Yeah,
don't
exactly.
double our efforts.
for
but
everybody, right?
Right,
We're all on the
right.
same page.
If we could get, if it's available, I mean, we might as well take advantage of it.
Oh, and then the last thing too about roads is that Julie, confirmed that if we want to buy the radar speed signs, is that still a possibility? We'd have to get them like now.
Yes.
Did it turn out that there was 2 and then 2 more? Okay.
Well, I think we should get them now, because that would have been our plan.
Sounds like a motion to me.
Yeah, sure. I move that we get those 2 additional speed signs that we had budgeted for.
Can I have a second on that motion?
I'll second that.
Bob will second that motion. Is there any more discussion? All in favor? John?
Yes.
Jessica?
Yes.
Bob?
Yes.
Motion carried. Was that Elon City? Okay. Is there anything else to do with town highway? Anything from the assessors? John, have you had any communication with the assessors?
I haven't.
Okay, actually this may have something to do. You were receiving this letter because the Vermont Department of Taxes, towns requiring to reappraise educational grand list properties. Do you know anything about this or not?
Yeah, we already knew it was coming when we got the numbers, in the spring. So, we are going to be asked to reappraise, but, Lisa's memo to you at that time, I think, said that the first step is they send you a letter and tell you you have to have a plan to reappraise. They already have a plan to reappraise for 2026.
Oh, so on the last page, it says the response must be signed by the chair of the legislative body
Yeah,
or their designee.
Lisa has been out of town, but I think she's back now or will be very soon.
Okay, and
She's been on vacation.
Lisa, she can sign that, right? All right, if she doesn't, okay, we'll leave that up to her, because that's her purview. So we just know that it's inevitable now because of the craziness that's gone on over the last couple of years in property. I'm surprised we wrote it out so long with everything. It's been as ridiculous as it is.
I did, it's not an assessor's report, but it has to do with the assessors.
Okay.
I did have someone contact me who is fairly new in town and had a concern about their tax appraisal. I mean, I know it's common to have a concern, and they had gone through the first step of the grieving process, but then gave it up after that. The main concern that they had was that, and again, I didn't ask for proof, but this person said that when they went to their initial grievance hearing with the assessors didn't provide comps to explain why their property was appraised differently than nearby properties.
How they arrived at that.
Yeah, I mean, and that was surprising to me because usually I know they do provide comps. So I just wanted to, again, this was just a person I was speaking to and that's what they told me. But I just wanted to say that publicly so that, you know, if we hear that from anyone else, it This might be a person who remembered poorly and didn't,
Yeah.
I don't know. But,
Doesn't that, if it's, Julie, you know this, if it's a new sale, doesn't that change the appraisal because of the purchase price as opposed to a...
No, we can't chase sales.
no, because that's happened with me. When I purchased the property, it was appraised the same as it had been before.
But it's reviewed then, though. It can be changed then when the purchase occurs, no?
No.
It's-
Yeah,
the
in Vermont, you can't
only
change
the timeline?
sales. The only way you can change your,
Permits.
Or permits?
If you get a permit and you do something different to your structure, there will be a reappraisal to add that.
right.
Yep.
But if you pay twice of what it's assessed for and you don't do a thing to it, your assessment stays the same until the reassessment or you decide to do something, then they can go through and you can put a $10,000 addition on and they can jump your appraisal $100,000 because they evaluated your whole house. Maybe,
Which people don't like to have that.
maybe. But,
I don't know this for sure, I'm just trying to remember, like, when I had done a grievance years ago, I think that I had to provide my own comps.
Okay,
It was my burden of proof that the assessment was wrong.
all right, so perhaps this person wasn't aware of how it worked. They may have come from a
I
different
may
state.
be wrong, but
Yeah. So I guess
you're right. I believe you're right.
I guess my thought then would be, we might need to do a little more, I know you were talking at one point, Julie, about doing like Town Government 101. We might need to do a little bit more write-up for folks about what does it mean to grieve your taxes? What do you need to do? Maybe they're not as aware as they need to be.
Well, that's good to know so that we can, there's a lot of resources available. People can come to the town clerk and even get direction
Yeah.
of places that they can go to learn more that they need to learn about how the systems are in here. Town clerk's memo, did we get anything? Deb said she had to leave early today, so unexpectedly, so
Deb is here.
she's,
Yes, I'm here. I am back. I want to just remind anybody whose terms are up this next year that this might be a good time to be generating petitions and get your consent forms. I know that the fireman's auction is on Thursday. That's a good opportunity to catch some community members if you are up for a re-election in March. Good weather is a good time to do that. There was a tree down on Herrick Road, and I connected with several people on that. I think I emailed all of you. Keith ended up actually coming into the office, and I mentioned it to him, and he was going to do a drive-by, and then later on Dale acknowledged my communication with him, so I'm assuming the tree was removed. The other thing is I want to participate in the conversation when the discussion about the masks requirement in the town office is. Early voting is ongoing. I've sent out 147 early voting ballots, and they're trickling in. Sue, even though she's home, she has procured a group of people to help with the elections, poll workers and after poll closing workers, so I think we're doing okay there. And other than the discussion about the masks, I think I don't have anything else.
okay.
Unless anybody has anything for me.
Nothing that we could think about right now, anybody? Okay, thank you. Town treasurer's memo.
2 warrants this week. Payroll for this period is $9,575.12. Accounts payables, $21,723.03. Highway funds, $14,927.96. Or, I'm sorry, did I say highway, or did I say general?
You said highway.
That's general fund. Highway, $5,973.07. Wastewater, $10,397.12. Working on property tax bills, and they will be mailed out next week. Hopefully wastewater bills can be sent at the same time if we can set the rate and collection dates tonight. I just wanted to update that we've had several requests that I can see have gone through the VHAP and LEWAP, which is a low-income housing water assistance program, and then the Vermont Housing Assistance Program. Several requests have gone through those entities from our townspeople, and I think at this point we've had two payments received on those. I am going to be closing my office early tomorrow, and then 2 Wednesdays again from then. So I'll be coming in early and getting everything done from the night before and then heading out. And the last thing to do is to set the wastewater rate after warrant motions.
All right, well, I'll move that we approve those 2 warrants.
I'll second that.
Is there any more discussion? All in favor of the warrants? John?
Yes.
Jessica?
Yes.
Bob?
Yes.
Carried.
Did I? Oh,
You got it.
I will get them for you.
Oh, thank you.
My bad.
I'm just looking,
We're
I
like, we're
think
ready
they're
to
always
sign
here.
on. Yeah.
I can't believe I did that.
No big deal.
So I emailed all of this to you, but I also have it printed out, labeled options. So the difference between them is the transfer that comes from the general fund. We have an appropriation of 15, but we had in the past been using that to bring up our savings, and then last year opted to just have all of it be to reduce the rate. And so the only difference is just different increments of that all the way down to that. And the only other thing I wanted to think about while we're thinking about setting rates is, are any of our repairs or anything that we have done to date things that ARPA could cover? Because we could retroactively do that.
We could, and I had also suggested, because the ARPA funds have been opened up widely, because they changed from the interim final rule to the final rule, they opened up what we can use the money for. So now the funds, because we asked for a particular waiver, we can use the funds for anything that would normally be used in the course of government. So I had suggested, I think it was the last meeting or 2 meetings before, that what we might be able to do is take a certain amount of some of the ARPA funds and put it toward just the wastewater fund, which could then lower the fee a bit more. That was one thing that I had thought of.
Does that mean that they waived the requirement that it not be used to reduce taxes?
This isn't a tax, is it? It's a fee. It's a user fee.
It's a user fee, not a
Yeah.
tax, so.
Yeah. And that,
I think it's something that we should ask someone that knows more about
Yeah.
it, because it's also sort of not run exactly as a government.
yeah. We could certainly use ARPA funds toward repairs that have been done on it. That could definitely, that's absolutely, I can say that right now. And if we did that, I don't know how that would affect what's going on here with the numbers.
Would it be put into a reserve fund, like a ARPA move to a reserve fund for repairs?
We can use it until 2024.
Nice.
After that, we can't use it. So it can't be put in a long-term reserve fund. The funds do have to be spent in the next several years.
Okay.
Yeah. So if we could do that, so let's think it through. We couldn't use it for like biosolids management for sledge hauling or anything. It would have to be like repairs that we're thinking.
We can use it for anything the town normally pays for. So in the normal course of government, anything the town has paid for in previous years, we can now use the ARPA funds for. So if in past years we've paid for the biosludge processing, we can use the ARPA funds for that.
How about the contract fees of the contractor?
Has the town paid for those in past years?
What contractors are we talking about?
You want management of plant?
Operators?
The operator contract.
I mean, here's the thing about everything that we're talking about. The town technically pays for all of this, but that fund is treated separately than a normal governmental fund.
Right.
And so I just think that we have to clarify on that.
Yeah, and I can get in touch with the person. There's somebody at Rutland Regional whose job it is to advise us with this.
But I would assume at least when we had that main break, or not quite break, but issue, that all could have come out of that.
ARPA, yeah.
There were portions of that, yeah, no, it was all stormwater that came out of ARPA. So we should do that, at least. And then that could sort of bolster the savings account in and of itself, just by having that money.
Because the thing that the thing that keeps coming back to me is that when we sent out that survey, that working on the wastewater plant to help reduce the cost for users and the town was the top thing that people wanted to do, and the second one was stormwater. And we have done some stormwater stuff, and we have not yet sent any of our ARPA funds toward the wastewater plant. Now, we do want to leave a significant portion, in my mind, of the ARPA funds in reserve, because when we get to the wastewater report, I want to share the most recent contact with, I know you got that, Mike, but everybody else hasn't, with John Kiernan, the person we're working with regarding upgrades to the wastewater plant. Because we will need to use some of the ARPA funds as seed money for that, I'm sure, with additional grant funding. But I don't see a problem with us using a small amount of them now to do what people said in the survey they really wanted to do, so that, because I've had at least one person say, hey, we filled out that survey, did you ever do anything about that? And it would be nice to be able to say, yeah, we did, we've done this and this and this.
If we put, say, for instance, the money back in that we had to pay on repairing that was quite a few $1,000s, right? So then that money could go, the ARPA fund could cover that repair, and then that money could go at reducing the rate, right?
So I think a conservative and fair thing to do would be, so since that was last year that those funds were expended, would just be to call that an ARPA expense and take the ARPA funds into the wastewater fund, which just gives you a little bit better. And then keep option 1 as what you set your rate at. That takes all of the appropriation and uses it to offset the rate. And it maintains it pretty close. What is it, $4 or something of an increase to what it was last year? And that accomplishes the goal. And then really, if we can spend some more ARPA funds on some of the repairs that happen, because we also did finish the year in a deficit. I can't remember what it is right now, but we have to be mindful of that we may use ARPA funds just because we have to.
There was still some jetting to do, there's a valve to do, and then they just did some work on a clarifier that we got a bill for, it was a couple grand or something, right?
1840 or something.
Right, yeah. So, I mean, we could use the ARPA funds to pay for that, and that replenishes that $15,000 stock, money pit, so this pocket goes to this pocket, but it keeps it much gentler on the users.
Yes.
Okay. So what does everybody think about that? That would be go with option 1, and then we could transfer so that we do have money for emergency repairs and stuff, which that $15,000 is. We would bring in, replenish that with with some of the expenses that we spent last year and even currently from the ARPA funds,
For the repairs.
which would up to the $15,000 mark. Do you wanna call that?
I don't
Wanna
think
just
you
say it?
have to make that much of a decision on the ARPA funds.
We don't even need to, right?
No, I
Okay.
think what we'll do is I'll create a list of things from last year, and you guys can approve those as ARPA expenses, and then I can bring things to you as we go this year that you may want to consider. And if you want to talk about a ballpark of where you want to stop on the ARPA funds, I think that would be a fair discussion, but I don't think you need to like loop it into a.
Right, but we don't need to work on that tonight.
Right.
But this we need to do tonight, so. Does everybody understand kind of where we're going with that? John, are you understand? kind of
Yes, I have the papers in front of me.
Okay, great. So, anybody want to make a motion that we go with option one?
I will.
Bob will make a motion that we go with option one,
I'll second that.
and Jessica seconds it. Is there any more discussion? All in favor, John?
Yes,
Jessica?
Yes.
Bob?
Yes.
Carried. Thanks for working that all out like that, Julie. That made it much easier for us. Or for me anyways, for sure.
How would you like me to, in the motion, would you like me to,
Just say what the rate is.
the rate per hookup and the quarterly payment amount?
Wish we could figure out what we could do better.
I wonder, Julie, if it might be possible, I don't know how soon you'd have to do it, but to include a little information in, maybe something written by one of the select board members in the thing talking about how we have used some of the ARPA funds. I don't know if that would be possible, because then that would be closing the loop on people to know, so that they know that it is being used in the way that they asked for it to be.
Kind of like a newsletter,
Yeah.
go out with the bill.
Didn't we do that once before?
I always do that. I have not printed my letters yet. I did include in, actually, so for, property taxes, I always do the same thing, the extra letter, and I included information about the Vermont Housing Assistance Program. And I also included information, in my draft that I've yet to print, about the VHAP program and the low-income, water assistance program on the wastewater letter. There's plenty of room on a sheet. If you guys wanna, if somebody wants to type up a little blurb and I can put it, below mine, and so it's all on one sheet, I think that would be
Yeah.
great.
Would you mind if I typed up a little
I
thing?
would be delighted if you
I'm
telling you.
I like the idea, but the work.
Given that that's become slightly my bailiwick, writing little blurbs, okay, I can write a little blurb and I will send that to you tomorrow morning.
If you put a pile of wrenches in front of me, I think I could do all right, but if you put a keyboard in front of me, I'm pretty much useless.
Well, it's good that we have, different abilities here on
Exactly,
this
that's what it takes to make it all work.
Good team here.
Yeah. Get to Julie tomorrow. Got it. I also will need to briefly touch base with you at some point, Julie, about, we want to send out a survey regarding the municipal planning grant to everybody in West Pawlet Village, and we were wondering if we might be able to use the names and addresses of people who are on the wastewater as the people to send that out to, plus probably some additional people who are just beyond the wastewater service area.
We can get, because that's going to be quick, we want to do that, right? And
yeah.
so that would be maybe going out with the bill too?
No, it won't be able to go out with a bill.
Separate.
It'll be
Okay.
separate,
Gotcha.
but yeah. So I'll touch base with you about that at some point.
Yeah, oh, and so, given that we were able to set the bills tonight, is everyone all right with the same thing we did last time, which was like September, December, March, and June for collection dates? Okay.
It seems to me like giving the people the option is by far the best choice. It doesn't really seem to complicate your job any too much, so.
No, I mean, the first time we did a quarter collection, complicated things in the system, but now it's done, so it's done.
Right, now that it's all been established, it seems to work just fine. Okay, good. Anything else from you tonight, or, no?
I
Kristen?
just have a quick question. Did you ever get my email about the B&H stuff?
Is that the one I was supposed to send them tax information?
Well, we sent them tax information. This is the accessories for our hybrid meeting business. We sent them the tax information. Sean sent them the shopping list. They sent the updated quote, which basically, it's really not that much cheaper, but it's like when all is said and done, it pretty much, they took away the taxes. Like what we saved is it's the same but different. Exactly. It's like missed. And shipping was not included in the quote either, so I'm not sure what shipping is going to be. So the next step is we'll have to contact them and say that we want to place the order with the credit card. So let's.
I did take the payment down last week.
Okay. So we'll maybe not this week, but next week or something, just because I don't know if I'll be able to get here this week and you're leaving early and stuff. So maybe next week I can come over and we can call B&H and just do that and go from there.
Good, thank you. Emergency management? Nothing. Health officer? Nothing. Wastewater treatment plant. If you want to update us on
I
that.
will. So, John Kiernan has gotten back to us, and I can let you know what he said in this email. So I emailed him saying that we still want to work on the wastewater plant to help keep down the costs. And he wrote back and he said, "Hi, Jessica and Mike. We have a new contract with EPA to help small systems with wastewater issues, and met in late June to discuss which systems I should be focusing on." And I like this next part. "I mentioned your project during the kickoff meeting with the state and received a favorable response for us to help you." So that's great. He has a busy August, but will block time in September to meet with us. He's going to contact us in mid-August to set up the meeting to go through a self-assessment, which is a requirement of our funding. It's basically a list of questions that sparks a discussion and can help me confirm the tasks that you will need the most help with. The questions have to do with technical, managerial, and financial capacity, so it's best to have one or two folks that are familiar with the system operations and the budgeting billing. We can talk more about that when the time comes. So what and probably one of the first things we do is put together a long-range schedule that incorporates the expected funding deadlines, which is usually in the early spring. So I would assume that these people that he's going to need having on the meeting would be probably Julie for the financial aspects and Jill for the other aspects.
Technical.
Yeah, the technical aspects. So yeah, so that's the update. I think that sounds positive, especially the part where he already mentioned it to the state and got a favorable response. So that's the update on that. We will hear from him again mid-August.
Yep, that's good to know. And other than they had a clarifier pump that they had to change out the other day, and that's complete. I haven't heard from Joe in a couple of months actually, as far as any kind of issues or any dilemmas or anything like that, so I guess we're all set with that. Facilities report.
I don't think there's anything. Did you ever have,
I don't know if Dave Armstrong ever came by, but he said he was interested in coming over and looking at the porch. That was the only thing that came to mind when I was talking to him. He was finishing up a roof job for us at work, but he said he would come over, so I'll nudge him about that. And then you have a window that we need to turn into an egress.
Well, it's just that I can't even open it. I mean, they put a permanent storm on the outside that's just like glass or plexiglass or whatever it is, so I can't open it for any ventilation or...
Right.
you needed to jump out because there was a fire or something, I don't know.
You'd have to throw your chair.
I mean, I can smash my way out of it, I
gonna say, we're gonna frame-
assure you.
We're gonna,
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he'll get out. I got faith to do it, I know he'll make it out.
we're gonna mount a hammer on the wall next to it that says in case of heat or emergency.
case of fire.
Yeah, in case of fire or feeling stuffy.
Here's Johnny.
And what, this front door needs some kind
Oh
of
yeah,
work,
the
right?
front door where it's so bad at the bottom on this side, and then that side is like broken out of that lock mechanism at top.
Well, I'll just try to make sure that he can connect with somebody when he comes. I'll just nudge him again and see if he could make time to come over here, and, cause he said he said he was pretty sure that he could handle it, you know, could fit it in. He's done a lot of traveling roofing and stuff, and he said he's kind of like to scale back and stay a little bit more locally if he could, if I had to work and stuff, so.
He doesn't do concrete also, does he?
Well, he suggested
Because I was
maybe
thinking
talking to
about the
Penny Town.
library
What do you think?
steps.
Yeah, we just need a variety of options and ideas and stuff to,
So he
Fix that
did
up.
suggest one guy that we may be able to talk to
great.
to come in and look at it, and
local guy.
and he said, he's been around, they've been around a lot of different stuff, and he's done roofing work on historical structures because he has slate experience and stuff, so. Because I told him about the steps too, and no, I'll look at them. So if we could just get something cooking,
Yeah.
maybe he knows
I
someone.
mean, at this point, we definitely won't be able to get the steps fixed this year because of how contractors are scheduling. But, I mean, if we could even get an idea of what to do and then run it by the historical people.
It'd be
We can get-
great if we just at least had a direction that we
Yeah,
were headed in,
Exactly.
instead of just batting a ball around, so. I'll try and make a note to bump him again, to stop in and see somebody.
I can remind you too.
Okay, that would be great.
I have a little facilities note. In the past, have we had, energy audits done on any of our town buildings?
Yes, I
Okay.
believe. It was quite a few years ago. It seemed like Sue was on the board when we did it the last time.
Because I got an email that talked about how there's free energy, I don't know if it's a full energy audit, but an energy discussion, which you can get through Efficiency Vermont. I think it was Efficiency Vermont. And it's specifically for municipal buildings. And I was wondering if we wanted to look into that. There's just a form to fill out to ask them about it.
It certainly can't hurt.
Okay.
As far as I'm concerned, anybody have any other questions, or?
I'll look into it then. Because they're always coming up with new and better energy efficiency devices for buildings.
And just equipment to check
Yeah.
is even.
And I think the idea behind it was, to save towns money on their electrical and heating bills. So, yeah, we could always use that.
Okay, old or unfinished business. The mask. So,
I will just say before we get too far into the conversation, personally, I do think it's a great idea what Harley brought up at the last meeting, that the state did recommend that municipal boards talk about mask mandates every 30 days. And I do think kind of like the health officer's report, and it's, that's one meeting a month. So I do think that just in general, regardless of what is decided, I think it would be worthwhile to have it as a semi-regular standing agenda item.
okay, that
So
seems
that's
very
just
reasonable.
That's just a thought.
And health officer seems like a perfect spot to stash it. So the first meeting of each month, we'll discuss it at the health officers.
Because I did do a little bit of research in between the meetings, and that was a piece of guidance that was offered in terms of how towns are going to approach their stance on on mask requirements, so.
So
Deb
Deb,
has some input on that.
Deb had said that she wants to weigh in on this, so. Deb, go ahead, please.
Yes, I had sent everybody, the response from Jenny Proster, as a follow-up to a concern that a citizen had expressed. And everything that we're doing thus far is well within the parameters of the town. Going forward, I do recognize that everybody is on a different playing field as far as whether or not to wear masks. If we're going to table it to the next health officer meeting, that would be in August, I would presume. However, Julie and I have talked about it, and I want to also reach out and say thank you to Julie, because in the absence of my assistant town clerk, Julie has been really helpful in helping me keep things going. But if something happens to myself or Julie, then the Board of Civil Authority has to run the election. So I would ask the board to support the requirement at least until primary election, just to keep the building safe and healthy. And then we can maybe re-approach it at that time. I mean, I certainly feel that if we were to put, and Julie and I talked about this as well, if we were to change the signage on the door to say masking not required but recommended. But again, I would like to defer that until, so we can get to the election in a healthy state. That's where I'm coming from. I mean, everybody is responsible enough to live within their own comfort level. We do have some community spread right now, from what I'm to understand, like about 20 cases recently. So anyway, that's my 2 cents. Julie, if you want to chime in, if I missed something that we had talked about, you can go right ahead and add on to that. I forgot to turn my video on.
I think that's about it. I mean, like I had said, that personally I am ready, but I didn't even think about the election until Deb was reminding me, and I was like, oh God, I don't even want to see an election that Deb's not running right now. I really don't.
Right.
So I get that concern of waiting until then. And it's on August 7th, right, Deb, or 8th, or when is the election?
It's the 9th, I think,
Okay.
whatever that Tuesday is. Yeah, I mean, and we'll run the election like we've done before. A lot of people are still quite uncomfortable not taking their masks off. We don't get a lot of resistance at the door. We haven't turned anybody away for not wearing a mask, for sure, but we will do the election in a way that if people are more comfortable voting outside, they certainly can do that. We're not going to keep people from coming in. We never have for elections. They can come in at whatever comfort level they're at. I'll have discussions with poll workers on what their comfort level is. We will put the screens up for each poll worker. I think that's just a good practice anyway. So that's where I'm coming from. And this election, we're utilizing a new voting machine, and only myself and Sue were there for the training. So, like I said, if something were to happen to Julie or I where we could not be in the office, then it would be the select board and the justices of the peace that would need to implement and run the election from beginning to end. So I'm just asking, please help keep us healthy until then.
Okay, anybody have any comment, pro or con?
Well, I think I understand Deb's argument here, and I do think that if what we did was decide that we're, like Kristen said, that we're going to put the topic of masks on the first meeting of the month, what would be the date of that?
8th, the day of the primary.
It would be the day of the primary, would be our next meeting.
Right, yeah.
I mean, it could be the second meet, I just think a
No,
month.
it could even, but I mean, the primary will be over by the
I
time our
can-
meeting
I
starts.
can tell you, let's see,
I mean, we don't
Our
normally
next-
meet
yeah, our
on
next-
voting day, do we?
9th.
our next meeting is, August 9th, Tuesday, August
So
9th.
if we reconvene to make a decision then, if we did decide to remove it, that would be a convenient time to do so, and then we could go ahead with that.
I just think that with the monthly revisitation of it, it's just that obviously this whole situation is unpredictable, and there's cold and flu seasons, and there's, you know, who knows how it's all going to go, and it just gives the board an opportunity to keep talking about it rather than having to initiate a conversation, you know, out of the blue.
I think if you choose to attend something like a meeting like this, you can view it through Zoom, yada yada, if you didn't feel safe coming here. So whether we enforce the mask mandate here, I'm on the fence with that, but I don't feel that any employee of the town should be put at risk by doing their job that they are, I'm not saying forced to do, but to do their job of whether it be town clerk, town treasurer, to be put in a position where they could be exposed to someone that's not wearing a mask, and they would request that someone wear a mask near them. I wouldn't want them to be put in a situation where their health could be compromised. So if Julie was here working, doing her job, and she wanted anyone that came through the door to wear a mask, I'm all for that. And Deb, the same way. They shouldn't be put in a position where people can just walk in without choosing to wear a mask until we deem that it's safe, but they shouldn't be put in a position where they're forced to be exposed to people that are not wearing a mask if they are doing their job. As far as a public meeting like this, we could say, it's optional, and if you, obviously 6-foot spacing would not be hard to do in this room with the six of us.
With our ripping turnout.
Until that day when a dozen people come marching in here with something that is a big issue.
Right, so it's,
Will happen.
that's my input, but I don't think it's fair to allow people to just wander in and, it sounds weird, but to corner Julie to be exposed to COVID not by her choice, or corner Deb while they're working, doing their job that they're forced to be put in that position. So if they don't want people to come in the building while they're working here, doing their job without wearing a mask, then that's the way it should be.
Good point. And I agree with Deb too, that it makes a lot of sense to not upset the apple cart until we get through this election. So I'd kind of like to leave it the way it is until we give it 2 more weeks, and then we can revisit it. Everybody okay with that?
Harley, did you have your hand raised?
I did, but Bob made the point I was going to make, that people who work in their offices should be able to make that a requirement versus a blanket all town-owned municipal buildings at all times, so that occasional meetings allow people to mask or not mask, but people working full-time in town hall should have the option of enforcing masks in their offices. Over.
John, are you okay with leaving it the way it is for 2 more weeks?
Yes, I am. The issue obviously has gained a lot more importance with me now that I'm under chemotherapy at the moment, that my vaccination immunity is a fraction of what everybody else's is. I'm glad we had the Zoom and I can't participate, but I agree with what's been said so far.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so let's stay in the way it is for now. Is there any new business going on? Nothing right now. Is there any public comment going on? Who wants to make a motion? You?
Oh, I will, yes.
Tonight.
I move that we adjourn.
Bob, second that?
Yes.
All in favor, John?
Yes.
Jessica? Jessica?
Yes.
Bob?
Yes.
Approved, carried.
Good night,
Thank you all for
everybody.
coming. Have a great evening.
Thank you.